Hello, Steve White, Trick Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, I just watched Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 5, Charades. I was not looking forward to this episode. I'd heard that this was the episode where they basically turned Spock into a human, and that I got the idea that it was going to be like a funny episode, and I just was not looking forward to it. It turned out a lot better than I thought, thank God. It was mostly saved by Ethan Peck because he's a good actor and he's gorgeous, so he pulled that off. There are a few elements of the story that did not work for me, but there are a lot of parts that did work for me. So overall, it was actually pretty good. I'm kind of surprised. But the episode starts off well. Basically, starts off with Nurse Chapel doing does it start with Chapel or we get a few logs this episode, just people sort of doing their thing, and we see some moments with Spock and Chapel where Spock is sort of avoiding her, and he's just trying to manage being on the ship with humans. Basically, he mentions the nasal suppressants, and they do actually kind of explain one of the things they've been doing with Spock, where they're suggesting that he was more human at the beginning and that he was affected, and now in order to maintain his normal level of emotional suppression, he has to like fully repress his emotions, which is not something he did before. So they have found a way to explain why he was different before, to explain why they portrayed him differently in relation to how they saw him in the cage and all of that, to now, which is now more how he behaves in the series as we know Spock. So they didn't they resolved their own problem they created, which they didn't need to create. But so they found a way to explain that, and I'm like, fine, whatever. Chapel and Spock end up going into... Well, they're investigating this race that's disappeared that had advanced technology, and they found some sort of phenomena, and they fly too close to it, and unbeknownst to Chapel, Spock increases the shields on her side of the shuttle to protect her. He gets injured, and the alien race repair him, and by repairing him, they remove all his Vulcan DNA because they seem to think that he should have been human because he didn't match Chapel. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, but then this alien's trying to interpret, our biology and Vulcan human biology and everything. So basically Spock wakes up and he's human. And this is probably the worst part of the episode, where he wakes up and he's like, what the... And it's like, not funny, not clever, not what his reaction would be. And that was the whole part I was cringing seeing. And the first part of the episode was really, really good. And then that happened, I'm like, ugh. And then we do have some cringe moments where Spock is trying to manage being human, and they treat it like adolescence. And there are a few moments that are funny, and then there are a few moments that are just a little ridiculous. I'm like, I get that he's suddenly human and this is all new, but I don't think he would have been that unsophisticated and that out of control. We see him like laughing hysterically at stuff, drinking too much, binging on food, just a lot of things, and it does get equated to puberty. And I'm not sure that really is accurate or would be accurate. I didn't quite buy that. I get they're trying to be funny. Oh, let's make Spock sort of, but the way Ethan Peck handled it, and you see his difficulty and everything underneath it, he kind of pulled it off almost. But that part of the episode quickly disappears when T'Pring's mother decides to show up, and the reality that he has to try and go through these Vulcan rituals to impress her, when he would have trouble doing that in his normal self, doing it like this, quickly becomes the focus of the episode, and the ridiculousness of trying to make him fake that by putting on fake ears and shaving his eyebrows and trying to act like a Vulcan. And we have another weird moment, which wasn't really great. This is with the aliens. They basically find a calling card on the shuttle, and they speak to them, And they basically say, well, this person was damaged, we fixed them, there's no need to talk to us, goodbye. And then they try and contact them and they don't answer. I'm like, and that's just the end of it. I'm like, what, we're just not going to continue with that? We're not going to try? That's just over with? I'm like, they really just ignored that. Later on, they went back to it, just randomly, because I was just thinking, and then they did it. Chapel's struggling with the whole, part of the reason why they changed him was to match her DNA, and I guess maybe on some unconscious level she knew that he did something to save her. There was some sacrifice there on some level. So she's feeling survivor's guilt. She's trying to fix the situation. She can't. So she cons Uhura and Ortega into basically going into the phenomena again with her to help negotiate with the aliens. So they go in, they do that. It's all very unauthorized. I'm not quite sure how they managed to get the shuttle and get permission. Oh, conveniently they can't communicate with the ship, so they just have to decide for themselves to do this thing and take this risk. So they do it. So Ortega's is like, yes, this is fun. They end up just within this other little world, which is on the LED stage, or whatever you want to call it. It looks quite good. It's interesting. They have some effects mixed with the stage and the set and the way it's all done out. And it's interesting. We do see another group of aliens, another environment, something new for a change. Because I just was afraid this was all just going to be about Spock and his Vulcan half, and it was just going to be retreading, Star Trek. There was not going to be any strange new worlds, and we do see a strange new world. We do see a new alien, so we do have a new interaction with a new species, so that was something. Eventually she communicates to them that two things. One, that he means something to me, because they're like this, it's like she's dealing with customer service from another planet, which is something I did today actually, which is traumatic enough. And she basically explains, I have feelings for him, I care for him, and also you broke him, I need you to put him back how he was, even though this version is there are elements I connect with, it's not him, you need to put him back how he was. And I'm like, how they couldn't communicate that in the first place, I don't know why they had to, but at least we got some good visuals. And this is happening while they are going through the ritual. And I'm sitting here watching this, I'm like, how are they going to fix this? Because they're going to have to take Spock away and repair him, even if they can do it instantly. Is he going to beam in and out? So how are they going to do that? Chapel shows up with a hyper spray, and that's enough. And she's like, the physical changes will happen later, but basically it's going to fix your DNA, basically. She's like, oh, I'm here with your vitamins, basically. So they sneak a shot, and he is sort of expressing emotions to her, but at the same time, I'm like, Spock, your fiancé is in the next room. What the hell? So she gives him the shot before he can say anything he'll regret. And he finishes the ritual, does a good job of it, and the mother-in-law makes a crack about how basically you've done really well with your human handicap. And he's like, really? Because I'm fully human and I managed to do this, yet you don't think a human could do it. So he pulls off the ears, which weren't glued down, as you can clearly see the seam. And it was funny to see the ears brought out, because earlier on they're like, we're going to have to put these ears on you, basically, and they're really the ones they use and everything. So it's sort of almost fun to see that sort of stuff, but not really, because it does sort of break the fourth wall, but blah, blah, blah. So he has a bit of a go at her and basically defends his mother and says she basically has put up with all this rubbish from you people to help me and to fit in, and she's done such a great job of tolerating and accepting, and just he realizes a new level of appreciation for his mother, which is very beautiful to see. And he does have a moment where he expresses that to her. Like, I think most people don't and should and will regret if they don't and they don't get the chance to. So it ends well, except that part of the story ends well, except the actual episode, I don't like how it ends. Basically, Chapel comes to his door. Because when he tells T'Pring, she's like, there's something wrong here that you didn't tell me about this. You didn't trust me about this. You told everyone else, but you didn't trust me. And he was like, well, it wasn't logical. It would add to your blah, blah, blah. And she knows there's something wrong. And she's like, we need a break. So she leaves. And then he wants to go speak to Chapel. Chapel shows up. I guess he's still not 100% Vulcan. He's still having these emotions. And they start talking and they start making out, and he's like, what does this mean? She's like, shut up, like, let's just, do this. And I'm like, do you remember Ross and Rachel on a break? Did you not learn anything? Did they not learn anything about that in the future? Yeah, so I liked the idea of Chapel not being with him because he was betrothed and unrequited love. That was much more interesting story than just they hooked up, it didn't work, and they just don't end up together. Like, so I don't like where they went with this. I don't like what they did with this. Overall, the episode was good because of how they dealt with the relationship between Spock and his Vulcan half, Spock and his human half, and Spock and his mother, and appreciating her. That was all really beautiful and nice. But the stuff with Chapel and the comedy was a bit too much. But overall, I enjoyed it, although it was flawed. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.